Welcome to Cafe Mutual YouTube channel. Today we have with us Samir Raj, Fund Manager, Nippon India Mutual Fund. Samir has over 29 years of experience in equity research and fund management. He specializes in mid and small cap stocks, and he currently manages one of India's largest small cap fund called Nippon India Small Cap Fund. Welcome, Samir.
Yeah, hi. Listen, thanks for having me.
Okay. So, Samir, I'll start with my interview with recent RBI's governor statement on equity market. So, you know that RBI Governor Shaktikant Das feels that Indian stock market is disconnected with the real economy. So, what do you think about this, Samir?
Right. See, in that sense, he's right that there is no direct correlation between markets and economy. So, economy, while we are speaking to companies, most of the companies are working at somewhere 80% of the levels which they were working pre-COVID. But if you look at small cap index, for example, even larger markets, I think markets are at much higher level. So there is obvious like disconnect when one looks at it from his point of view. But if one looks at it from market participants' point of view, I think markets correlation with economic fundamental has not been so direct kind of. So if one factor where there's a direct correlation of market, I think that's a liquidity kind of. So liquidity always moves market, and then fundamental follows. So if market get fundamental support from fundamentals, then rally sustains. Otherwise, rally fizzles out. So I'm not surprised. I think globally also, if you look at most of the markets, they seem to be very clearly moving ahead of fundamentals. But I think the way central bankers world all over the world, they want to support the market and inject the liquidity to provide support to their economies in tough times like this. I think we'll have to live with this phenomenon more often than what we have lived in the past.
So, Samir, adding to this question, we would like to understand, impact of GDP on the market. So, you know that India's GDP growth has contracted sharply. So what would be its impact on mutual funds since return in equity are directly linked to corporate earnings, GDP growth, and inflation?
Right. So I think this current lockdown and pandemic, it's sort of a once in a century kind of event. And in that sense, they are extraordinary event. So, whenever like in company, say when you're analyzing a company's balance sheet or company's P&L, say in one particular year, if there is any fire or something, so we treat this as an extraordinary year kind of. So I think perhaps, we are reading too much into that one quarter's fall. I think we'll have to look at it as an extraordinary event. And I think market is rightly treating it at like, as like that. And they're looking at more on FY22 basis, the markets. So I think that's a right way of looking at it because this, in a sense, it's a extraordinary kind of event, once in a lifetime kind of event, and this is not something which is a very regular kind of phenomenon. So we'll have to treat it as an extraordinary item and move forward.
So what is your assumption with regards to GDP growth of India this fiscal?
Yeah, see, frankly, I'm a small cap guy, and frankly, in small cap, we if we get too much lost in the GDP numbers and all, I think we won't be able to invest. But having said that, I think the contraction in GDP has been pretty sharp, and the way things are going around, it looks like the virus is spreading. And earlier hope was that this will get solved fast. That's was my personal view, but it looks like it's here to stay. And I think we are like getting used to live with it, kind of. So I think GDP number, which has contracted very sharply, I think they'll come back, kind of. So, and I think we'll have to also remember that when we go to same time next year, we're going to have very favorable base, kind of. So, in fact, there are possibilities that we could have one of the highest GDP growth in terms of percentage compared to previous year. So, I think if as an investor we get too much lost in the GDPs and all, I think we won't be able to invest and pick up the stock. So I think it's better to focus on stock picking, at least in my universe.
So Samir, things could turn drastically going forward.
Yeah, in the sense, see, like our view is that Indian economy can bounce back very fast when this pandemic is over. So, when we're speaking to company in January, February, pre-COVID, we're already getting sense that Indian economy is on the turnaround, kind of. And that's why when markets fell so sharply in the March, and we were very confident that we'll bounce back from this pretty fast. And that's why we were able to give a very firm call, and we opened our fund for lump sum subscription based on that kind of. So our view is that markets and economy can bounce back very quickly once we move forward from this pandemic and lockdown. And I think most importantly, I think if you speak to any market participant, I think one of the major grievance was that government was not that proactive on economic front and market front. But it seems that government has no alternative, and now entire focus of both center and state is going to be on turning around the economy. So if you would have heard Prime Minister's speech on Independence Day, I think almost 85% of the speech was focused on economy. So that in sense, I think augurs pretty well for the market. So we feel, the one missing point for India in India's fundamental was that government was perhaps a little disconnected from the economy, but now entire focus of the government is on economy. And we have seen many steps in that direction, including Atmanirbhar Bharat and policy on electronic good manufacturing and all that. So I think all those things, and also from pandemic, now one is very hearing those this moving of global supply chain. I think that's for real, and we're already seeing benefits in many sectors. So we feel Indian economy can bounce back pretty strongly from this pandemic.
Okay. So we're talking about small cap stocks. So small caps are in the news recently because of new exposure norms of multi-cap funds. In fact, the small cap indices have started, moving up recently. And there are a lot of memes in the social media, like Amir Khan बोल रहा है कि अब से कचरा खेलेगा लगान मूवी का पोस्टर में, right? So what is your comment on this?
So see, I think there is a perception that in small cap there are all kachras. I think first of all, I think we need to very clearly get over that perception. So what has happened in last 5 6 years? Indian economy has gone through so many pains. Like we had a demonetization, we had a GST, we had a debt crisis. So if any company, and especially smaller companies, if they have passed through all this thing and still survived, one can argue that these companies are a fundamentally stronger breed, kind of. Secondly, what we have seen is that over last few years, there is a mindset change in a lot of mid and small cap promoters. And they understand the importance of market cap. They feel this is the most legitimate way to create wealth. And also what we have seen that in many companies, there is entry of new generation of family members into the business, and many of this new generation members, they are educated abroad. They understand, how to run business, how to treat stock market, how to, make a stronger business model and all. So I think fundamentally, we are looking at this space, which is much more stronger than historically. So as you mentioned in the beginning, I have spent 29 years of market. So, I started my journey with capital market, and in those days we used to analyze IPOs, and there are so many fly-by-night companies which came and just went by. But now even regulations are so strict, kind of. So chances of one coming across with those kind of companies are very very less, kind of. So I feel perhaps small cap. I can argue that small cap is perhaps the space which will provide the maximum opportunities. See, what's happening? Like there are so many things which are changing around us in terms of technology, in terms of disturbances, kind of. And smaller companies in that sense can be much more agile in terms of the way they want to the way would respond to these changing circumstances. So I feel if somebody is willing to work hard, I think opportunities for small cap investors in the next decade are going to be immense, kind of. And personally, I feel this is going to be the most exciting space for investors, because the large cap you have same 100 companies, and mid cap you have say 150 companies, whereas here you have so many choices. And this is a space where you get so many newer sectors which may not be even present currently. So, as I spent such a long amount of time in the market, so I still remember when Infosys came out with the IPO. So Infosys, when it came, you would remember that IPO was undersubscribed, and it was a small cap company. Similarly, I still remember the days when HDFC Bank stock price used to be below 15. And it was a private sector banking was altogether new business. So in front of our own eyes, we have seen so many companies like from becoming from small company to, to a large cap company. So I think there's going to be great amount of opportunities in this space.
Just like Kachra in the Lagan film has turned the table. So you are saying that smaller companies can turn the table in investment portfolio, right?
Yeah. So what I am saying is that you cannot ignore this space. So a lot of investors argue that why invest in small cap, why complicate life, kind of. So I understand that the small cap company it's a very research intensive category. You don't get so much of sell side support. In large cap you want to buy, you'll get 50 sell side reports, and you can take your decision like just like that, reading very fast, kind of. But in small cap, you have to do a lot of hard work. But if somebody is willing to do that kind of hard work, I think opportunities are going to be immense. So small caps should be part of any investor's portfolio. I think historically small caps have been around like 15 to 20% of the market. So for any serious investor, it has to be at least 15 to 20% of his portfolio. And at market sometimes gives you many opportunities. Something like in March we got such a great opportunity. So there will be volatility in the market, the kind of world in which we are living. So if volatility gives you like those kind of opportunities, use it to your advantage to increase the exposure. But uh, be invested at least 15% at all the point of time in small cap.
So talking about the fund, I mean your fund, Nippon India Small Cap Fund. So it has performed exceptionally well in 5 and 7 year time frame. So what has contributed to this performance?
Right. So see, first 3 year, what happened? Our timing was like great. So our fund just completed 10 years yesterday, kind of. So I still remember we launched this fund in 2010, and then small cap market just collapsed. So NAV fund went all the way down to 7 rupee post IPO 3 years down the line. But from there, it was like one way bull market. Thanks to many, including one of the reasons was demonetization, which led to a lot of flow of money to the markets. So NAV went all the way to closer to 50 kind of. So I think one of the reason why our fund is able to deliver those return, it was our ability to identify the change. So in small cap, I think what is pretty important that you should have eye to identify change pretty early enough. So when you get the change, I give you example. For example, one of the major contributor to our fund is our identification of chemical industry. So when we started looking at chemical industry, it was considered one of the laggard industry. Most of the stocks were available at PE of 4 and 5. Now I'll give you example of Atul, kind of, which once upon a time we used to have almost 6% of the equity of the company, kind of. So when we bought Atul first time, its market cap was 400 crore. It was available at PE of 4. It was available at PE of 4, and it had such a strong asset base. It has one of the India's amazing infrastructure in the sense its plant was very close to national highway. It's other side there was a railway sliding, then very close to port, and it was amazing infrastructure. And this company was available at PE of just 4. And what we could identify is that Chinese government was coming quite heavily on their chemical industry because of the Chinese Olympics, and we could clearly sense that a lot of global companies are thinking of making India as a second base, second sourcing base. So when we identify those kind of changes, so we were getting this at P of 4, and we bought all the way to P of 8, 10, and today there has been not only earning growth, but there has been P re-rating. So so basically, if you are able to identify some sectors which for some reasons are trading at a pretty low valuation, and if something is changing on the incremental, then you get multi-baggers. So we also focus on something like if say some company is available at a ridiculous valuation for some reason. For example, in our mid-cap fund, when I was looking at in those days, so we were able to identify Britannia. So Britannia was perceived as a Vardia company, but they brought the new manager and he from Pepsi, and he completely changed kind of. So Britannia's values, and how they've changed, kind of. So I think it's ability to identify those kind of changes. So change could be either change in management, it could be change in government policies, or change in industry fundamentals. So if you're able to identify the change and participate that. And another thing is that in small cap, you cannot trade. You have to invest with long-term outlook. So we always encourage investors that if you're coming to small cap fund, come with at least 7 to 10 year outlook, at least 5 to 7 year outlook, kind of. So when you are investing with those kind of perceptions, it's very important that you bet on the right kind of business and the right kind of management. And you would have heard this thing from many market participants. It is sitting which makes most of the money. So if you're able to identify right kind of stock, and you're willing to sit for so long, so and then you have so many winners on the portfolio. So fortunately, we got those kind of investor support, and we are taking money only through SIP for a very large portion of our lifetime. And we had the investors who were coming with that kind of time frame, and that's why they saw benefit, and our portfolio had many such winners, which helped us generating those kind of returns.
Okay. So since your fund has recently completed 10 years now, so what is the one thing that you have learned, I mean, over this decade?
Not one thing, I think there are many things kind of.
Yeah, you can share three things.
Yeah. So I think one is even after you're doing so many things, still you're missing so many opportunities. So I think one of the most important thing for an investor is to be pretty open-minded. One very common factor you would find that most of the investors who have been in the market for very long, they would have a value kind of mindset. And in last few years, we had a time where value investing was completely out of fashion. So it was very easy earlier. If you buy 6p company, there's no way you could lose money. But last few years, even if you buy something at 6p, the chances are that you lose 50% of money and stock becomes 3p company. So I think you have to be that way, very open to open and pretty agile, kind of in terms of what's happening around. And what we have done over the years is that we have invested in research. So we have had people from various backgrounds. So we have one of my colleague, like for example Varun. His name is Varun Goenka. So we have given him job of identifying and working only with the newer sectors, new generation sectors, kind of. So thanks to people like him, we are able to identify. So we invested in recently last year company called Affle, and Affle is an ad tech company. It's completely new generation company. And if you would have had that kind of old generation mindset, you would have never been able to invest in this kind of companies. So we are trying to consciously stay in tune with the current time. So that's number one. Secondly, I think the most important thing, which is evergreen, it's a learning forever, is that you have to bet on the right kind of promoters. See, small cap investing is more like a relationship, or you can say it's like a marriage. So entry is easy, but the exits are always pretty expensive. So whatever like background checks you have to do it beforehand, kind of. So I think never underestimate. I think if you get any red signals or red flags, just don't ignore it. And like third one is like if you get something right, try and bet big, kind of. So and don't sell it early. So in many of our like right pickings, we thought, okay, the stock has gone 5 times, 6 times. We may have committed error of booking profits too early. So there are many learnings that way.
Okay, so currently Nippon India Small Cap is the largest small cap fund in our country with assets of close to 9,300 crores. So, however, a few fund houses have closed lump sum subscription in small cap funds of late. So, they argue or they say that a big size becomes a challenge in managing small cap funds. So, what is your comment on this?
No, so obviously, I mean, I fully agree with them that big size is challenge. I mean, in small cap, liquidity is pretty poor, and
Mhm,
you cannot buy and sell at will, kind of.
mhm,
But I think it's not completely unmanageable. I think though it's pretty difficult job. So, and as I said earlier, small cap investing is a lot of hard work, because in small cap, you don't get sell side support, and in many cases, if you get a support, chances are that you'll be one of the last one to know, kind of. So, importance of having your in-house research team is very important. And I think because of our size, the advantage which we have is that we are able to invest in research. So perhaps we are the only fund house which would have a dedicated research team of 4 members only from small cap. So that's the
mhm,
kind of investment we have made. And we are not. It's not that we have taken like just fresh out of college people. We've taken pretty experienced people. Which brings varied experience. So somebody would be fund manager, somebody would come from industry experience and all that. So that our idea is that using our research experience, in this fund, how do we make a collection of, how do we make a sort of a bouquet of, quality company, say around 90 to 100 quality companies, which are perhaps best company in the small cap space in India, kind of.
mhm,
So if you want to run a very, very concentrated portfolio, kind of, then you cannot take a very large sum of money, because you can understand that if you like in a 9,000 crore fund, if you want to invest 1% of the fund, you have to buy 90 crore worth of stock, and building those kind of positions is not easy, kind of. That's why we tell investors to come with a longer frame of mind. And I think if you're willing to work hard, I think there are many opportunities. So you would have seen, like, so despite our size, if you look at our returns even in last 6 months, it's
mhm,
not so materially different than many smaller funds. So size, I think is more of a mindset, kind of, and it's
mhm.
a challenge. But I think if you're willing to take that challenge, it's still a manageable thing.
Okay. So, Samir, people say small caps can give extraordinary return in the long term horizon. However, 10-year industry data shows that small caps have delivered returns at par with large and mid cap funds. So why do you think investors should take high risk to earn at par returns?
Right. So see, our fund just completed 10 years. So, it's, returns are fresh in my
Mhm.
mind. So in last 10 years, our fund has delivered CAGR return of 15% per annum kind of. And, you would agree
Mhm.
with me that last 10 years, we have passed through one of the most difficult times for Indian economy. I talked about all those big changes like demonetization, GST,
Mhm.
debt crisis and all. So if in times like this, if can small cap can deliver 15% return, where even mortality rates were pretty high and when, actually the quality of companies were not so great. But I think, as I said, next 10 years are going to be like completely different. Like if we play our cards well, the chances are pretty high that next 10 years, next decade could be India's decade. And then,
Mhm.
you combine it with the quality of promoters which we have in this space, the quality of companies we have in this space. And, there are so many changes happening around that. So if you combine these three things, then I think, returns could be significantly better. And like if in one of the most economically challenging decade, if returns were 15%, you can very well argue that returns here will be like
Mhm.
better, significantly better than large caps in next 10 years in small cap space.
Okay. So what are the risk mitigation strategies that you have deployed to reduce risk in your small cap funds?
Right. So, we tackle risk at multiple levels. One is,
Mhm.
I think, stock specific risk, kind of. So, in
Mhm.
small cap, you cannot bet really high, kind of, because if something goes wrong, because things can go for various reasons. Sometimes your own research analysis could go wrong. Sometimes things could change, which and nobody's control, kind of. So, if something goes wrong, you really cannot sell small cap because of liquidity reasons. So, I think the amount of weight you take in one stock, I think is pretty important, kind of. So we have very clear rules on how much maximum we can invest in one stock, and then any stock, if it goes beyond 5% and all, I think we take it, we reduce the exposure and all that. So we handle it at a stock specific level. Secondly, I think one of the risks, since it's open-ended fund, I think we have to always manage a liquidity risk, kind of. So I think it's always a nightmare. Like if any fund manager has to sell his small cap to meet redemption pressure. I mean, most of the time redemption will come when already things are bad, and if you have to sell your small caps in those
Mhm.
kind of times, I think it'll be total disaster. So at any point of
Mhm.
time, you need to have some cash. So we try and always keep 4 to 5% cash. It's also important, for us to close
Mhm.
the blocks. And we are allowed to invest up to 35% money between cash, mid caps, and large caps. So there are so many sectors where either smaller companies are not available, or investing in a small company doesn't make sense. So I'll give you example of a financial services company. So the last few years, financial service industry was going through so much pressure that it doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense to invest in a smaller financial company. So we took our financial service exposure through large cap, and we covered up. And in a way, we manage the overall liquidity of the fund. And so basically, in terms of our exposure to like how we handle our exposure between mid cap, large cap, and cash, that's another way of handling. And third way is that whenever we feel that markets are becoming hot, or there are chances that too much of hot money will come into the fund and all. So we try and we close subscription. So we opened our fund for lump sum subscription only in March, kind of. So the moment we feel that we're getting too much of hot money, and we are not like getting investors with the right kind of attitude and time horizon, so we have this
Mhm.
lever of stopping the subscription. So we handle risk in a multiple manner.
So Samir, how comfortable you are with the valuation right now in the small cap space?
Right. So if one looks at trailing 12-month valuation, obviously, things will look pretty expensive, because in trailing 12 months, we had a two-quarter, like March quarter was washout quarter, and June quarter was even bigger washout. And even even September quarters, and we're still working at 80-90% in many cases, kind of. So I think you'll have to look at 1 or 2 year forward. So if you look at 1 and 2 year forward, I mean, you cannot argue that valuations are low. But if our argument is correct that Indian economy is going to come back on track pretty fast post COVID, then I think valuations
Mhm.
are at a level at which you can expect to make reasonable money. I mean, there's no way one can argue that valuations are cheap. The valuations were cheap in the month of March, but from there we are up
Mhm.
significantly. And at this stage, valuations are good enough. I think they're not pretty expensive, not pretty cheap. They are in the middle
Mhm.
somewhere.
Okay. So which are the sectors that you are overweight on and underweight at this point of time?
Right. So the chemical sector is one sector which I spoke of. So we are pretty optimistic on chemicals, and we are significantly overweight there. Then agriculture is the one sector where a lot of reforms have taken place, and monsoons have been also pretty good. And that sector can change the orbits if we feel, and there we are overweight. Then we are pretty bullish on entire consumption space. So that's a space in which we are bullish. We are also bullish on a lot of financial services, in the sense, some of the exchanges. So we have exposure to companies like MCX, CDSL, kind of. So though they get classified under financial services, if one digs deeper, they are more of a technology companies. So if you count that as our technology exposure, we are like overexposed to. I mean, we have a higher exposure to technology in that sense. The sectors which where we are underweight. One is like real estate. We don't have a single stock in that space so far. So we are looking at it pretty closely. If need arises, we will buy. Construction company where we had some exposure, but that sector has not delivered any significant return. So there we are underweight. Uh, the broader financial services, if you minus all these exchanges and all, we are slightly underweight. Uh, Pharma, this is something which we have not capitalized fully, so we are there. We are slightly underweight, but I think in last 1 month we have covered. We have added companies like I won't take names, like, so we have added a couple of companies, and so we are covering up for our lower pharma exposure.
Okay. So Samir, why MFD should recommend Nippon India small cap funds to fund to their clients?
See, I think we are one of the oldest fund, and we have track record of 10 years. Kind of,
Hmm.
that's one thing. And as I mentioned, small cap is a pretty research intensive category. So I always say this, to in small cap, you want to buy one company, you have to do research on five companies, because it's not necessary that if you like one particular company, you will necessarily get float, kind of. And you cannot completely rely on sell side research. So having your in-house research team is must. And I can say with pretty confidence that we have invested serious money and time in our research capabilities, and that is making a lot of difference to fund. So I think our size, while many feel it's a constraint, we feel it's a significant advantage, kind of. And I think we've proven that in a way, kind of, and we feel confident. I agree that it's going to be a lot of hard work, but I think if somebody is willing to work hard, there are too many opportunities there, kind of. And with our research capabilities, we feel we are poised pretty well to tap those opportunities. And as I said, we have consciously uh, like included in our team people with various exposures, kind of, so that we don't get lost in one particular style of investing. So as a fund house, we can invest in a low PE company, as comfortably as we can invest in a 30 or 40 PE company. So we can do growth investing, we can do value investing. So what we're trying to do is that through our research, how we have collection of India's best companies in the small cap space and across investment class. So in our fund, you will find growth companies, you'll find value companies, you'll find asset heavy companies, you'll find new generation of companies. So we are really offering a pretty good diversified bouquet of best companies in India. So and with our research capability, so even if it's say 90th position or 100th position in my portfolio, it's not that nobody is monitoring it, kind of. Even if it's one of small exposure, we have a dedicated analyst team. So we make sure that one analyst don't cover more than 50 companies, so that he devotes enough time and energy for that. So we track those things pretty closely. So I would say one of the major differentiating factor which could work and has worked in our case is our research capabilities.
Samir, one last question. Which method works well in small cap space, SIP or tactical allocation through lump sum?
See, I think what happens, like many time investors wait for tactical allocation in lump sum, and what you have
Hmm.
seen that when that tactical opportunity comes, most of the time investors are worried. So
Hmm.
while we opened our fund in the month of March, we see, so I mean, hardly few people have taken advantage of that, kind of. So when tactical opportunity
Hmm.
comes, most of the time
Hmm.
you headlines are so negative that you don't have guts to invest. So either of
Hmm.
instead of missing it completely, I think SIP is a good way. for somebody,
Mhm.
you know, and that's a good way of building size, you know. So in SIP covers up for all market fluctuations, and it helps you build good portfolio over a period of time. So I think there's no straightforward answer. I think SIP is must, and in between, if you get technical opportunities, make use of it. So as I always say, you know, have at least 15 to 20% of your corpus in small cap, and if you get those kind of technical opportunities, increase the exposure based on your risk profile. So I think it's a mixture of both which works well. Otherwise, you know, a lot of time you miss the bus, then you know you'll regret. You won't be able to invest at higher price.
Okay. So thank you so much, Samir, for your valuable time and input.
No, my pleasure,
It's
Nissan.
great to have you.
Thanks for
Yeah.
a very insightful question.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thanks.